everybody, welcome to episode 2 of Football Savage. I'm the Giants Football Savage, Damian Vasquez, and this is Matthew Blanchard, the Raiders Savage. We are going to break down the first round of the NFL Draft 2018. We have a lot to say. We have some steals. Definitely want to dive into what the Giants did. Blanchard definitely dive into what the Raiders did, and talk about some of the hot names that we saw that come off the board. So to start off, we have Cleveland with the first pick. Rare occasion that they have 2 of the top 4 picks. So, for Cleveland to have this pick, which is not a rarity, they're usually very high. They've been in quarterback hell forever, so it makes all the sense in the world to take a quarterback. Recent reports had Josh Allen going there, Sam Darnold going there, but ultimately ended up being Baker Mayfield. Blanche, what do you think about Baker?
Well, it was definitely, a little bit of a surprise pick. It came out very late leading up to the draft, meaning not too much leaked out on it. They kept it pretty close, tight-lipped on that one. And personally, to be quite honest with you, I thought it was a little bit of a smokescreen leading up to the draft. I didn't really think that they were going to go through with it. But, they broke it down, and, it was their guy. They don't want to give anybody a chance to maybe take it in between or, wait till 4. They figured this is our guy number 1. This is the guy that we want. And basically I'm happy for Mayfield. I think he definitely deserves opportunity. He's definitely earned it. One thing you can't take away from the guy, that guy definitely has a lot of grit. And if there's anybody, obviously he has a lot on his shoulders, pretty much to try to turn around the Browns' fortunes, which have been, not good for quite a while now.
No fortunes there.
But I think if anybody could do it, why not Baker? I wouldn't want to bet against a guy that walked on in college, became a Heisman Trophy winner, and became a number 1 pick in the draft.
That's the coolest part about Baker Mayfield is the fact that he walks on, comes first pick overall in the NFL draft. That's you put that in a movie and it seems like it'd be a little bit too fake, but. Ultimately, Browns get the quarterback. They needed the quarterback. I'm a little surprised they went with Baker, to be honest with you, because of what's happened with Johnny Manziel. They are pretty similar in body type, but I don't know. This doesn't really feel like a Manziel kind of pick. He seems like a cut above for sure.
Yeah, I think he definitely fits the Cleveland attitude. I think he fits in with the city well. The only thing I'm a little concerned about is it might not necessarily be something that actually exists, but it's almost like a Browns touch of death, so to speak. That if you're drafted by the Browns, it might not work out for you. And also, just looking at Baker, the makeup. Sometimes I look at him and I think he could definitely be a very good quarterback. I just don't know if he could reach that elite status. Not from lack of effort, not from lack of anything like that. I just don't know if he has the natural God-given kind of things to, that big Hercules arm quarterback. But we'll see.
Time will tell. Time will tell. All right. So after the Browns pick, my football Giants go and pick second. I'll be honest, I haven't been this excited for a draft since like 2004 when the Giants were picking 4th, and obviously there was reports of looking at a quarterback back then. But, and the same reports held true this year as well. Picking at 2, originally I thought it was a no-brainer slam dunk that the Giants were going to take a quarterback for sure. Of all the quarterbacks that I saw, I actually like Rosen the best. That was before I got to read more reports on him. But ultimately, from the Giants' perspective, I think it was either Sam Darnold or it was Barkley. So I was happy that Darnold did not go first because I really wanted to see what the Giants would have done when trying to pick between Barkley and Darnold. So the fact that they didn't go with the quarterback when you have a 37-year-old quarterback, and you go for the running back, that lets me know that the Giants, they have to believe that Eli has something left. They have to believe that he has more than just this year, at least 2, hopefully 3 might be pushing it, but at least a couple of years. And I think that they're going all in for that by taking Barkley, man. The guy looks like a mix between like Ezekiel, Gurley, Fournette, Shady McCoy. Gettleman said that he was, only the second player ever that he's given a perfect score for. The other one was Peyton Manning. So hopefully he's not wrong about this guy.
Yeah, listen, you look at the Saquon Barkley highlights film. there's not really not much not to like. I definitely think that this was the fan favorite pick. Definitely what the local fans wanted, especially Eli has a lot of love, and and I do think Eli has a little bit left in the tank. So this is definitely the good immediate pick, I would say, the fan favorite pick. But only time will tell if it ends up being the potential, the right long term solution. Only because obviously running back and quarterback's not the same from a talent perspective. Um, you know, I think
Financial too.
Saquon Barkley has probably as good a chance as anybody in this draft as being a Hall of Famer. But there's been plenty of Hall of Fame running backs that weren't really able to lead their team to the promised land or just suffer from bad quarterback play.
Yeah. One thing that I read that was very, very interesting and kind of put things in perspective because I kind of kept going back and forth with the pick. Ultimately, I'm happy that we have Barkley. The guy is a mega star. But something pretty eyebrow raising pops up is the fact that Saquon Barkley is now already the fourth highest paid running back in the NFL. So already being in the top five of running back, you have to immediately produce to justify the pick. Top five production. Do we think he could do it? Sure. I mean, the guy's probably gonna touch the ball a million times. We have no running backs, and we need another spark on offense. But he's the fourth highest paid running back, and Sam Darnold is now the 29th highest paid quarterback. So if you think about the success that recent teams have had, like Russell Wilson, when the Seahawks won the Super Bowl, the guy was still on his rookie deal. Carson Wentz is barely making any money, so Philadelphia was able to reinvest in the entire roster. So from that perspective,
Saves a lot, gives you a lot of options of things to do.
it does. Eli's, he's tying up a lot of money with the cap, and if you had gotten the quarterback, that really is not an issue, and you kind of get a nice little bargain moving forward for the future.
Last point I want to make about Saquon before moving on. Basically, just how the local media is, and very tough on guys. That he's going to bear a lot. Just a lot's going to be on his shoulders in a couple of years. Even if he's producing at a high level, even if he's a notch below, even if he's getting the 1,200 yards, but it's not maybe a superstar season. People are going to be saying, "Hey, listen, we grabbed this guy. This is why we don't have a quarterback," and so on and so forth.
He's going to have to produce big numbers.
Yep. All right. Going across the town. Well, not really, so to speak. Going across the locker room. To the Jets pick, Sam Darnold. Basically, I think this pick was just too good to be true for them and a lot of reasons. They probably never thought that he would be on the board, and the fact that he was there, and then even have controversy because the guy they were looking at, Baker Mayfield, went number one, so it was kind of, I feel like, a no-brainer pick. What do you think?
Yeah, they traded 3 second-round picks to move up from 6 to 3. So I mean, at the time, people were kind of clowning on the Jets for making the move, but ultimately, they didn't give away first-round pick, and they have the quarterback of the future, and not just the quarterback. By all accounts, a lot of people thought Darnold was the best. I think the Giants thought that he was the best. I'm not saying that he definitely is because of that, but everywhere, every mock you saw was had him going 1 or 2. It wasn't even a possibility to see him at 3. So the fact that the Jets, they paid the 3 second-round picks, but they got the quarterback for the next 10, 12 years. If the guy's any good, they've been in quarterback hell forever. The last legit quarterback they've had was Chad Pennington, and he couldn't throw past 40 yards.
And that was, hit and miss when he was on the field. Good season, and then he's hurt. And,
super accurate, but
and I think these two picks are going to be linked together pretty, just because of being in the same city, and also because the Giants had the opportunity to take Darnold. I think Darnold actually fit in a good spot here with the Jets. He would have been a good fit with the Giants also because he would have been able to sit behind Eli and learn. I think he's young. I think he's smart. And to be honest with you, being that the Jets have had such bad quarterbacks for so long, I actually think he might get a little bit more leash than he would with a team that actually had quarterbacks before, because they're going to want more. Probably in the first couple of years, obviously after a couple of years, you wear out your welcome. But in the first couple of years, even if the Jets see competent quarterback play, it's going to be like a breath of fresh air. They'll probably, be happy with that for a little while anyway.
And another great thing about him landing with the Jets is the fact that he gets to learn behind Josh McCown and Teddy Bridgewater. So that
Good
that
competition
yeah,
room.
it's great. I
Yeah.
mean, Johnny Manziel, when he was talking about making his comeback, gave all the props in the world to McCown, how he mentored him, how he tutored him, and the fact that Sam Darnold is already like a mini Eli in the sense of how humble he is, how much of a gym rat and looks at film all the time. So honestly, I think this was the best case scenario for the Jets. So good job, Jets.
Yep. Moving on, next pick. This one's a little bit of a surprise, also. Some might say both the Browns picks were a surprise, and not because not from a talent perspective. Denzel Ward's very good. I just think not a lot of people thought they were going to go with that pick here. Personally, I thought Bradley Chubb. I think a lot of people thought Bradley Chubb. And some might say that when you look at these two picks, and this on D touched on too, you didn't see a lot of projections of them going Mayfield and Ward. Probably you didn't see any of them, to be quite honest. And this, I feel like this could be really good or really bad.
Listen, if I told you going into the draft that between Sam Darnold, Josh Allen, Saquon Barkley, and Bradley Chubb, and none of those four were going to Cleveland, you think that I was crazy. In every mock, they had at least one of those guys, and probably two of those guys going to Cleveland. So the fact that and we don't know, obviously, we don't know, but Mayfield Ward, that's something that you didn't see anywhere. So the Browns, in a sense, kind of leave themselves vulnerable for that criticism. They're not necessarily taking like the automatic pick. To me, the automatic pick is Bradley Chubb. You pair him with Myles Garrett. Those guys are coming off the edge for the next 8, 9, 10 years, and
that's what you want. On the offensive side of the ball, you want a quarterback. On the defense side of the ball, you want to get after the quarterback. So only time will tell. Just hopefully for the Browns' sake, it's just not looked at as another one of those Browns drafts where they had multiple first-round picks, and we're looking back at it like, wow.
And they all go up in flames.
Yep.
So after Cleveland at 4, we have the Broncos at 5, and the Broncos probably make, maybe aside from Darnold, no, this is more of a no-brainer. They make probably the easiest no-brainer pick of the draft. At 5 is Bradley Chubb. They had agreed to a trade with Buffalo before they had realized that Bradley Chubb was going to be available. Once they saw Bradley Chubb was available, they said, forget the deal, forget it. We're taking Bradley Chubb. You get to pair him with Von Miller coming off the edge.
Scary.
That's a sick duo. What do you think about that? You have to see this guy twice a year.
I'm looking forward to it. I'll tell you that. But no, definitely a solid. You can't really go wrong with the pick. But I would say, me personally, I thought they were going to go in a different direction. Meaning, I think they have more pressing needs than edge rusher. I don't think it's the most pressing need. They still have Vaughn. They have Shane Ray that they took a couple seasons back, who I think still has potential to grow. And I think the better pick, just like we say with the Barkley or Darnold kind of thing,
right.
Chubb, same kind of thing. It might be the best immediate pick, but I think in the long term for the Broncos, I think trading back and acquiring more picks or taking the quarterback themselves, because you got Case Keenum now, but I feel like Case Keenum's a little bit of a stopgap. And
yeah,
if it was just me, if I was a Broncos fan, which I'm totally not, but if I was a Broncos fan, I probably would have preferred to go with the quarterback prospect.
Yeah, John Elway, John Elway's the GM. He has an eye for a quarterback. So it's kind of telling that Denver, a team that they had Keenum, but long-term solution, they drafted Paxton Lynch. But look in 3 or 4 years, those guys probably aren't going to be quarterback in the Broncos. So the fact that the Broncos could have taken a quarterback, the Giants should have with a 37-year-old Eli, and that both of these teams did not. Maybe these quarterback prospects weren't as flashy, or yes, they're 4 decent ones at the top, but maybe they're not as good as other crops, of quarterback classes.
Yeah, I would definitely say Chubb is the more safer pick for sure.
Yeah,
outside of a quarterback. Moving on to number 6 pick, Indianapolis Colts, which I think this is the safest pick in the draft that you could possibly make, is Quentin Nelson. I just, I don't see how this can be a bad pick. I feel like the range is either he's going to be either very good or a Hall of Famer. I don't think there's, much less than that.
Yeah. offensive guard from Notre Dame. He was one of those guys that, there were rumors that the Giants might trade back. So if you were to trade back, that he would have been one of those guys like at 5 or 6 I would love to have. But ultimately 2 is a little too high for a guard. But at 6 is the right spot. He's gonna protect Andrew Luck, who with all these shoulder problems and all the offensive line and run problems that they've had, they needed this guy, and they protect him, in my opinion, one of the better quarterbacks in the league with Andrew Luck. So good pick for Indy. And they get the 3 extra second-round picks.
Absolutely, yep. Next pick, Josh Allen. Just wasn't Buffalo traded up to grab him. It wasn't originally their pick. It was Tampa Bay. They moved up, and what they give up? The 12, 22, and
Yeah, they give 2 second-round picks, 53, 56, and they go from 12 to 7.
and 12, right?
Yeah.
Not 22, not the first rounder. But listen, I understand it. Josh Allen, big hands, plays in the element. We got to go up and get our guy. And he fits a profile. I'm not mad at the move, but in my opinion, I just don't like Josh Allen really. I think he has the biggest chance to be the bust out of the top 4. But at the same time, like I said, I'm not mad at the pick. They essentially kind of had to do this. But if it was me and I was moving up like that, I probably would have went with Rosen personally.
Yeah, I think the Bills were enamored with Josh Allen. He has big hands.
He's one of those prospects, like you like him or you don't kind of guy.
Yeah. I mean, listen, the guy can throw the ball like literally 80 yards. So he just looks like a behemoth. He throws fast balls. He's like a Randy Johnson.
Yeah.
If Randy Johnson.
Well, I have a bad experience with quarterbacks who throw 80 yards.
So. No, but I think for Josh Allen, I think the Bills they presently do have the worst quarterback situation in the league. I mean, A.J. McCarron and Nathan Peterman played 1 game last year and threw 5 picks. So Buffalo really hasn't had a quarterback since Jim Kelly. Doug Flutie maybe, but aside from that, they haven't really.
And you know
had
what?
any quarterbacks.
I actually the other side of this dynamic that probably people aren't viewing too much. They got A.J. McCarron on a cheap deal, 1 year, $5 million, and this is gonna light a fire in his ass too. I mean, this is a guy that 2 off seasons ago, teams were trying to trade, even the Browns before before the deal got reneged, trying to trade a second-round pick. So, he can be another Mike Glennon, or he could be one of the guys who just hasn't had a shot, and at least you're adding competition to the quarterback room.
Yeah, that's maybe their guy of the future. They desperately need a new face for the franchise, especially on offense. That offense is pretty scary.
Absolutely.
So after Buffalo goes at 7 with Josh Allen, number 8, Chicago Bears take Roquan Smith. Roquan Smith, this was a guy that in a lot of mock drafts saw going to your boys. What do you think about Roquan?
Roquan, there's not much not to like on film, sideline to sideline. I felt like if he made it to us, he was, out of all the prospects, out of all the different guys that had projected to us, I felt like he was the safest, the one that was the least likely to let us down, and the one that, could really energize the defense and, add a little spark to it, so to speak. So the Bears, solid pick.
Yeah, they got Leonard Floyd. Put him with Leonard Floyd.
I like what the Bears have been, we're trying to build over there.
I think the Bears are gonna be a sleeper team this year, man. With they got the new coach Nagy. Trubisky's in his 2nd year. They added some pieces on offense. They're starting to add some pieces on defense. I think the Bears are gonna sneak up on a few people next year. They had some tough wins last year too, by the way. All right, so after Roquan at 8, San Francisco gets McGlinchey at 9. I really like this pick. They just they got Jimmy Garoppolo and grand theft last year for a 2nd-round pick. So now you're going to be able to protect him for the next 10 years or so with the left tackle. He's the best tackle in the class, Notre Dame. 2nd Notre Dame got to go in the top 10, by the way.
Yep.
But I like the pick. I love the pick if it's a need. And they got to keep Jimmy G upright. That guy, he gets hurt. San Fran falls back to what they were before Jimmy G.
Cornerstone to block for, Garoppolo's blindside for hopefully 10+ years. From the tape I watched, guy just fundamentally sound, doesn't make a lot of mistakes. The only thing I think will be interesting to see is how much they really relied upon each other, Nelson and McGlinchey playing on the same line. How much that really affected. They pretty much had the best offensive line in college football last year. But I definitely think he's solid, and I don't see many flaws in his game from what I see. Um, Moving on to number 10 and my steal of the draft, Josh Rosen at number 10. Now, this whole situation is dynamic for me in more ways than one. Basically, first, my boys were in the 10th spot. And I'm thinking, if you guys had watched our previous episode, I'm like, wow, Fitzpatrick actually fell to us. Like, wow.
Yeah, I didn't think that was even possible.
Yeah, I didn't think it was possible either. However, when we traded, I was still happy, only because there was multiple prospects on the board. So I felt like we could trade back, and I would have been happy with Fitzpatrick, Derwin James,
I was still crazy
Edmonds, even Vita Vea. I'm not a huge fan of. He was still on the board. There was like 4 or 5 guys that were all projected to us that were all still there.
Right.
So why not move back a couple spots? Not to we could use the picks. It's not like we're a piece away from Gruden's pretty much revamping the whole everything that's going on. So as many picks as possible. I was a fan. When we were trading back until I found out what the compensation was, and also based off of the situation and the need that Arizona's having, and being able to get the last of the top 4 at number 10 to only give up a third and a 5, kudos to them. And like I said, I think it could really be the steal of the draft. Now I know he comes off a little cocky. Not too many people, like his attitude. But show me a successful quarterback who wasn't cocky. To be quite honest with you, and just from on film, I just liked what I seen so much better than the other quarterbacks, and I just feel like he has to save his floor also. Like I think he could either be like really good, like elite, but like at worst, I look at serviceable. Like I don't see the guys like. I see Rosen at all these quarterbacks as the highest chance of still being in the league when he's 30.
Yeah, I think so too. Of all the quarterbacks that I was looking at highlights of, I actually like Rosen the best. Even when it came down to Darnold and Rosen, I was actually, I thought Rosen was clear cut.
Rosen is the best right now, I think. Anyway.
But I think his attitude kept him back a little bit. He even said, even when he got drafted, there was 9 mistakes ahead of me, which is cool. He's playing with the fire. But he kind of he's on that line between confident, cocky, comes off as like a little bratty millennial. But ultimately, look, Arizona, if Arizona goes up 5 spots in the first round, they don't have to give up a second pick. They don't have to give up a first pick. And they get the last quarterback of the big 4. I really felt that the Raiders were in a position of power there. And I think they could have definitely squeezed out more value. It almost makes me feel like the Raiders were like, oh crap, what do we take? We don't know. Let's go back 5 spots. We get an extra 3rd round pick.
Yeah, I feel like the Raiders were just like, hey, listen, we don't want to pick our guy here. We're set on Colton Miller anyway. Just move back. I feel like that's probably one of the first offers. And they're just like, yeah, we'll take a 3rd and 5th. I feel like they didn't grind too much on that. But anyway, it is what it is. Now moving on, number 11. The guy who, like I said, I couldn't believe was on the board for us, but obviously we didn't take him. Minka Fitzpatrick. Think it's a great value. Got a Swiss Army knife, can play multiple levels, multiple spots on the D, and that's kind of what you need nowadays in the NFL, especially with all these offensive schemes and everything that's going on, motions.
Definitely. He's like a nice little. He's like a queen in chess. Guys like this, I think these types of athletes are the future of the NFL, like the Denzel Awards, the Minka Fitzpatricks. You no longer just need the outside corner. You no longer just say, all right, I need a slot corner. You need a guy that can cover Evan Ingram, the tight end. You need a guy that can cover, McKinnon coming out of the backfield. You need a guy that can cover all these positions. So you get one of these safety / cornerback / slot. You put him anywhere. So you always keep a guy like that in the field. He matches up with receivers, with tight ends, with running backs. At 11. Now, the only thing I will say is, yes, Fitzpatrick is a tremendous pick. But on Miami, I have Tannehill's coming off 2 torn ACLs. And even when he's healthy, he's not the best quarterback in the world anyway. So if you're at 11 and the Raiders are at 10, and they're clearly not going to take a quarterback because they have Derek Carr, You have to trade up to get up to 10. You have to trade something to ensure that you land at 10 and that you don't get leapfrogged by Arizona. Or I thought Baltimore might have done that.
I feel the fact that
Silly.
Arizona moved up from 15 to 10 and only gave up a third and 5 shows that on both sides of both the Raiders side and the Dolphins side that there was not even a field thrown out there.
Yeah.
There was no line thrown out because if they would have found out, yo, they're only giving you a third and 5th. We'll give you a third and 4th.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? I feel like there was no line,
worth it.
there wasn't a line of communication there whatsoever. And yeah, just the last point to touch on Mika before we move on. Being out of the game, game's always ever evolving. Now defenses, they want these tweener players. Whereas back in the day, if you were a tweener player, they didn't know where to put you. If you were undersized linebacker or a big safety, now those guys look kind of like the most valuable guys.
Yeah.
Number 12, Vita Vea. Solid pick. I guess that they were supposedly looking at him at 7 anyway, so they moved back. They gained a little ammunition from the Josh Allen deal in Buffalo, and they still get their man.
They got 2 second-round picks to fall back 5 spots and get the guy they wanted at 7. I mean, that's
their defensive lines had trouble in recent years, and they've made it a point of this all season really trying to address it.
Yeah, JPP. I got JPP, McCoy, now Vita Vea, and Curry from the Eagles that they just signed on the defensive line. Defensive line was a weakness last year. Overnight, it turned into a strength. Good job, Tampa Bay. 13, we have Payne, defensive tackle. Redskins drafted. This is one of I actually really like this defensive tackle. He's super athletic. So he's a huge guy. He's like a big guy, but he's like quick feet. He's like fast. He caught a few touchdowns too. So I think he pairs up well. Nice. Pairs up nicely with the first round pick of last year, Jonathan Allen. Giants just got Barkley. Cowboys just got Elliott. They're gonna need some guys up there to try to stop the run. So I think Payne helps them out there for sure.
Number 14. I feel like this was one of the bombshell moments of the first round.
Yeah, this was
without a doubt. Basically, Green Bay was on the clock. All of a sudden, you see pop up Trey Mameed, Saints. The top 4 gone.
Has to be Lamar.
Moving up, you think it has to be Lamar. Moving up so far too.
Yeah.
27-14, and then the compensation. Their first this year, or first next year, and their 5th this year. That's big compensation. You usually don't do that for anything other than a quarterback. And then I feel like when that pick actually came out of Marcus Davenport, definitely some eyebrows were raised. But I guess this goes to show that Sean Payton feels like they're close, and maybe they just feel like this is the guy that they had to have.
I don't know how many times people have traded a first-round pick and not gotten quarterbacks. Like when you see someone go from 27 to 14, you're thinking, okay, this has to be a quarterback. This has to be a quarterback. But if you think back to the Saints season of last year,
actually.
If you think back to the Saints season of last year, they were one crazy fluke play away in Minnesota from being in the NFC Championship game. And the way the Saints were running that ball,
and they could easily have beaten Philly.
They could.
I think they would have been a favorite in that game, probably.
Yeah, because Philly was underdogs in all those games anyway, so the Saints definitely would have been. But for the Saints to pull the trigger on this, they're thinking, I suppose, like the Giants, like the window is short. You got to do it within these next couple of years.
But, and who knows? Maybe this guy ends up being a stud. He's raw. He's from a relatively unknown program. A little bit of a one-year wonder, and some guys that were still available at the time or ended up getting taken much later. I don't feel that the talent level was drastically off. But hey, listen,
if it works out, good job. But man,
nobody knows, and it was just a surprising moment.
Like he has to get 15 sacks, like out the gate, 10 sets to justify the first round pick. Like if the guy has a slow production, they're gonna be around this forever.
Yep.
But anyway,
moving on. 15. My Oakland Raiders, and hopefully your Oakland Raiders. 15, Colton Miller. I'm going to keep it 100%, keep it 100 on this one, as we say. I was devastated initially by this pick. I felt like, wow, everything's actually working out for us. We moved back. The dude we want is still there. We should have got a second-round pick at least in our trade, but we didn't. But whatever. The guy we're looking for is still there. And then, when Godell goes up and and announces out Colton Miller, there's definitely a lot of puzzle faces in Raider Nation for sure. But I took a step back. I dove into it, and the more I look at it, I don't think him per se really makes it a bad pick. He was looking in the 20s. New England was looking at him. Cincinnati was looking at him. I even seen one where the pick right after had Ravens taking him at 16. If you look at his skills, just look at his combine workout and just his measurables. I actually seen a graph on Pro Football Focus when I was trying to look for good things about him that they did somewhat of a study or a graph on all the traits that all pro tackles had, like all the all pro tackles, and he fit like every trait. He was right on, and he was like, in range of every single one. So at least that says something. He seems like a humble kid. Seems like someone that would definitely listen to coaching. I was more upset really about the pick of just what we left on the board.
Yeah, I was surprised that you could have had Derwin James, and there was definitely some other pieces that were still there, but ultimately, you guys do need a tackle. The right tackle, Marshall Newhouse from last year, is gone, and he sucked anyway when he was there. He was on the Giants 2 years ago, and he was just terrible. So your left tackle is like 35 years old, Donald Penn. So he's probably gonna be out of there a little bit.
Yeah,
so.
it definitely fit in you without a doubt. But
just shocking not to adjust the defensive side of the ball, for sure.
This is an Al Davis pick, baby. All right, so moving on to the we're in the second half of the draft, past the hump pretty much. So we'll rattle off a couple of the picks really quick. 16, Tremaine Edmunds went to Buffalo with the 16th pick. Buffalo actually traded up with the Ravens so they made 2 trades up in the first round to get Tremaine Edmunds there. 17, Derwin James from the Los Angeles Chargers. 18,
still sounds weird.
Jaire Alexander. Green Bay traded up 18 to grab Alexander 18. 19, Vander Esch, Boise State linebacker that Dallas grabbed. And at 20, Frank Ragnow that Detroit grabbed. Out of this group, what stood out to you, Dave?
I guess 17, Derwin James was shocked that he fell as far as he did. A lot of mocks had him going in the top 10. A lot of them didn't even have him falling towards you guys. So to see him at 17 was eyebrow raising. But what's even crazier was the fact that he lands at San Diego, which San Diego secondary was already arguably the best in the NFL last year. According to PFF, you have Casey Hayward, who was first, Jason Verrett, who was second at corner. Desmond King was a top, I think number 12 on the list. Now you're adding Derwin James, who's, similar type of player like Minka and Denzel, like, one of these ball hawk players in the secondary. You match them up anywhere. San Diego next year, and especially with Bosa and Ingram coming off the edge.
San Diego looks scary.
San Diego they're tough, man. They are.
I'm very petrified about that. For me, I look at this group, and the one that has to stand out to me is Tremaine Edmunds, just because he was so heavily linked to us. Same token as with Derwin James. Most people didn't think he was going to be available in this area. I will say, though, I'm a little shocked that Buffalo traded up to get him. And I feel like Buffalo does this a lot. They do a lot of, their picks don't complement each other.
Really?
Like, all right, you just drafted, you moved up to grab, your quarterback of the future, so to speak, Josh Allen, who probably has the most to work on out of all these quarterbacks. How do you not get him protection, or how do you not get him a weapon? Okay, maybe Tremaine Edmunds is that good, but I don't feel like you're in a position to be giving up so many assets to move up again when you already done so once to acquire your quarterback.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, if you think about the skill position players in Buffalo, they have Calvin Benjamin, Zay Jones. They don't have a lot. I mean, McCoy
Calvin Benjamin, Zay Jones, some wind from the lake,
they have
some Josh Allen thrown into the stands,
I mean, look, they got the face of the franchise with Josh Allen for offense. Maybe they're thinking this guy is a defensive face. He has to be 19 years old, number 16 overall in the draft.
Yeah, I just have a vision of in the 2022 NFL drafts, the Buffalo Bills select with the number 1 overall pick, such and such quarterback from this university. So we'll see.
All right.
It'll be a couple years before they give up on Allen, that's for sure. All right, so moving on to the next bracket, the 21 to 26 picks. 21. Just to touch on the other picks at least. 18. Jay Alexander went to Green Bay. Address the secondary. They've been trying to address forever. Try to help Aaron out a little bit so that not every game's a shootout 24/7. Number 19. Direct competition for your boys.
Van Der Esch. So the thing that was surprising about the Cowboys pick was the fact that everybody thought that they were going to be taking a receiver. They had just cut Des Bryant. Calvin Ridley was a popular pick. DJ Moore was a popular pick. So it seemed, it seemed like it was going to line up for Dallas to take a wide receiver. They took the linebacker, very good receiver, a very good linebacker, pairing with Jalen Smith and Sean Lee. Good pick for them. I just thought it'd be a wide receiver.
Yep. And then just rounding out that section right there, number 20, Detroit trying to keep Matty's staff upright. Draft Frank Ragnow to hopefully be their center for foreseeable future. Kicking off the next quadrant of grouping of picks here. Back-to-back centers you don't see too often. 21, Billy Price to Cincinnati. 22, Rashad Evans goes to linebacker from Bama, goes to Tennessee. I think it's pretty telling of the coach. The new coach they got over there, trying to get a linebacker. Mike Vrabel, the linebacker himself, so maybe trying to put a little culture on his new team. Good pick too. I feel like linebackers are very hard to tell in the drafts. To be honest with you, I feel like they're very closely ranked. But I wouldn't say it's a bad pick at this point anyway. 23, Isaiah Wynn. I guess trying to a little bit replace Nate Solder that they lost in the offseason to this guy's boys right here.
Yeah.
Trying to just rebuild the line, so to speak. I guess kind of confirms too they were looking at Colton Miller as well. So I think this is kind of like the fallback plan for Miller not really being there.
They need an offensive lineman for sure.
And then the last three picks, 24, DJ Moore to Carolina, 25, Hayden Hurst, tight end to Buffalo, and 26, Calvin Ridley, Atlanta from Bama. What do you think about this grouping here, D?
I guess the pick out of that group that I liked a lot was DJ Moore going to Carolina. Carolina, for the most part, usually have good defense, but I feel like they've just always been lacking on offense. They're always lacking playmakers.
Couldn't agree more.
And DJ Moore, super polished route runner. Not the fastest guy in the world, but he runs every route in the route tree. Catches everything. And the thing that stood out to me big time was I was watching the draft on NFL Network. They had it on ESPN and NFL Network. On NFL Network, Steve Smith was one of the analysts, and very bluntly, as only Steve Smith would do, says to everybody, says particularly to Carolina, listen, Carolina, since the day I left, you have not been able to replace me up until right now. So Steve Smith is giving the ultimate endorsement for DJ Moore. I think Steve Smith sees a little bit of Steve Smith in DJ Moore, and if that's
that's saying a lot. Steve Smith was a bowler, and he tell you about it too.
Yeah,
but just in terms of that, I couldn't agree more. I feel like just looking at Carolina, they act so much of Cam, and could you imagine if they just paired Cam with some like a Tyreek Hill, just some really exciting players, what they could really be. Think about that.
And McCaffrey from last year, trying to build it.
That's a little scary. But out of this group, what really stuck out to me was Calvin Ridley. I think this is a super solid pick. This is a great value. Really what I see, and I like Atlanta. I think Atlanta does a good job of addressing their needs before they become a glaring need, and not trying to lie about who they are. They know they're a passing offense. This is how we're going to beat you. We're going to outscore you. Hopefully our defense shows up a little bit. We could also run the ball. We got running backs, but we go through Matt Ryan. We go through Matt Ryan's arm, and let's do it as best as we possibly can.
I like Calvin Ridley a lot too, to go opposite of Julio. You're adding Julio, Ridley, Sanu. You have Freeman and Coleman. Hooper at tight end. Maybe he takes a step forward. Matt Ryan playing indoors. Ridley's a speedster. He's going to have his one-on-ones opposite of Julio. I mean, if he could beat the number two corner on the other team consistently, this guy's going to have He's gonna have obviously a big impact and even maybe like a fantasy football sleeper.
Yeah.
Down the line.
I agree with that. Finally, rounding out the draft, last picks we have number 27, Rashad Penny to the Seattle Seahawks from San Diego State. Number 28, Terrell Edmonds, Pittsburgh, Virginia Tech's brother Tremaine, that got drafted earlier. We talked about 29, Taven Bryan, DT from Florida, going to Jacksonville with all them big defensive linemen that they got, big goons. Number 30, Mike Hughes, cornerback, UCF, UNC, played a little bit at both. Number 31, Sony Michel to New England. And last but not least, 32, Lamar Jackson, and Baltimore trades up.
That's the flashy pick to end the draft.
What do you think about this, the end of the first?
Definitely a few surprises to end the draft. I think, to me, what was a very big surprise was Seattle. Seattle took Rashad Penny. So Seattle's offensive line almost makes the Giants' offensive line look, decent. And that's saying a lot because the Giants' offensive line has been terrible for a few years now. But Russell Wilson is running for his life every time you watch the game. I don't, I feel like on every drive he's either getting sacked, he's rolling out, he's throwing the ball into the stands. They needed offensive line.
Russell Wilson might be the only quarterback in the league that's more dependent upon than Cam is for Carolina's offense. Like,
dude, Seattle.
Russell Wilson has an off game, they're not winning. Period.
So that's why I thought that they had to go offensive lineman. So don't get me wrong, the Giants have the second pick in the second round. Hopefully we target an offensive lineman there. But I'll tell you right now, Seattle needed offensive lineman. They didn't take it. So the fact that they're taking a running back, I think they're switching more to a run-based offense to try to protect Russell a little bit more. So it does make sense in that standpoint. But in this draft, the running backs are so deep. Seattle has so many glaring needs. They got rid of Michael Bennett. They got rid of Richard Sherman. They're thinking about trading Earl Thomas. It looks like they're going full rebuild mode. And first-round running back, I know that's what we did, but at 27, when they have that many holes, and not a lot of draft picks, by the way.
Yeah, and you know what? I think actually would have been the smartest thing. And it's not. I like Penny. It's just that fact. It's the fact that they're picking at 27 and they don't pick again to the fourth round. Would have been the smarter thing to do is to dangle the pick, maybe even get a second and a third. Still take Penny with one of those picks and take Will Hernandez, let's say, or any offensive lineman, and just set it up that way. But instead, I guess, they haven't. It's been a revolving door in the backfield, so to speak. They just want someone to solidify the spot.
Rawls, Lacey, Steve Mike,
just
a million guys.
It's more of it's not so much Penny, it's more of the reach and the need, and not having another pick till fourth round when they need offensive lineman.
Yeah, I agree.
What
about you?
The other thing, I like that one also, but besides that, Sony Michel, I think, is interesting to me.
And he looks good, man. I like him.
It's a guy that a lot of people looking up at the draft should be pretty familiar with. Sony Michel's good. He's, I would say, if I had to compare him to someone, I would say a little bit slower, but a little bit beefier Kamara, if that makes any sense.
Okay.
Slightly not as twitchy, but a little more built, so to speak, but can do the same kind of stuff out in the edge and get him in space and all that kind of thing. And he can run in the middle too. Like, I would really say, obviously he's not the same as Barkley, but you could do a lot of things with him, so to speak. He's one of the more complete backs in the draft.
Definitely.
But what really shocked me was two things. First, I felt like this is a dream spot for New England to take Lamar Jackson.
Definitely. There was reports that they were enamored with Lamar Jackson. They had 2 first-round picks. They had a 23 and 31. They could have taken him at 23.
Yeah.
They could have taken him at 31.
But the fact that he doesn't go all those picks in between, he's still there at 31. Like,
yeah.
Just to try to even, pick some of Tom Brady's, put a speckle of Tom Brady's brain into that athletic body, and just think about that for a second. And then the second thing is, New England doesn't covet running backs a lot. Like,
that's what I was pretty shocked about.
They'll throw anyone back there and say, hey, listen, you're touching it 20 times this week. Next week you're touching it 4 times, and this guy's touching it 20 times.
Yeah. Last year they got Gillislee from the Bills. The first game of the season, he gets 3 rushing touchdowns. Later on in the year,
this guy was amped.
He was on my fantasy team. I thought he was in.
So the whole year, bro.
No, but yeah, they'll take Gillislee, they'll take James White, Rex Burkhead, Deion Lewis.
And-
Running back is just a
And
plug and play for
and
them.
it's not a slight. And like they do it successfully.
Yeah,
But I guess now that actually they do that, and I actually have a real complete guy now that could do all of it.
maybe they got a bell cow.
Shoot.
This was a guy that I thought if the Giants didn't take Barkley, I would have been pretty happy. Like if you went Darnold as the first,
Might be targeting him,
second
kid.
pick, and maybe Sony Michel in the
Give me
second.
some Sony Michel this year.
Finishing off the draft, pick number 32, Ozzie Newsome special. This is his last draft. And he goes and takes the guy that should have went to Jacksonville at 29. Probably should have went to New England at 31. But ultimately he falls with Baltimore.
All the way earlier could have been the
Well,
Saints pick that they were trading up for.
Ozzie lands Lamar Jackson. I think he falls in actually a really good spot. The Ravens are normally a stable organization. You still have Flacco, so I mean Flacco feels like he's 38, 39. He's like 32 or 33, but his contract is tremendous.
He's
So
been on the decline for the last couple of years, just not really playing more of a game manager role almost,
yeah,
and not even on the team where they're like cut out for that. Like really, he needs to throw it for them to be successful. But he's got to be sweating. That's all I got to say. I feel like he doesn't have a lot of a leash. This is his last year with guaranteed money on his contract. And if he continues the trend of what we've seen the last couple of years,
yeah.
I think it's gonna be bye Joe.
I think Lamar Jackson definitely breathing down his neck. And then you think about it's Flacco there, but what's also pretty interesting is that RG3 is actually the backup quarterback. So I mean he's gonna be able to pick Flacco's brain, Super Bowl MVP. He's gonna learn from RG3. I mean their skill sets aren't the farthest things in the world. They're actually pretty similar. I think that they signing RG3 and coupling him with Lamar Jackson. RG3 is not anything now, but I mean they are
teach him
similar.
what not to do.
Yeah, or teach him not to do throwing the ball.
But really too, like even if it's not so much even the team or the personnel or the coaching, it's just gonna be the fans. It's gonna be the media that if Baltimore starts off 2-4, they're gonna be like, we want to see this kid. He's too electric.
See, I have a feeling he's gonna be Deshaun
He's
Watson.
every type of guy that when Flacco has 2 picks at a halftime, that the camera keeps panning to him, like they keep showing him on the sideline every couple of minutes.
Yeah.
Because that's what they like to do. But that's wrapping up our first round. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and we'll be back again soon. Hopefully, touching on the rest of the draft. Peace.